Well, this afternoon, President-elect Donald Trump continues to make waves surrounding his cabinet selections. Just one day after Matt Gaetz threw in the towel for his nomination as Attorney General, we now know that Trump has moved on to former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi as his next selection. Joining us to discuss this and so much more, Barak Lurie, political strategist, back here on the Live Zone. Happy Friday, sir. Good to see you and welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
I got to tell you, your background, by the way, that weather there looks a lot better than what we got going on here. I won't ask you where you're at, private business. But in this case, what I will ask you is the latest with regard to President-elect Trump. We know earlier today a New York judge granted Trump's request to file a motion to dismiss charges, in essence, canceling sentencing indefinitely. Your take on that, sir?
Well, yes. Look, it looks like the only move that Merchan actually had in terms of the sentencing thing. It was an embarrassing thing for them to pursue in the first place. And now that he's been elected, what to do? There's just no way that they could actually sentence him in any meaningful way. But more importantly, I think Merchan knows that would be the triggering event for an appeal. It's a little bit more difficult for the Trump team to file an appeal at this point. They would have to file a writ, which is a special motion to get into the appellate court, to overturn the findings of the lower court and the way that it was conducted. So it's in his interest to indefinitely postpone the sentencing, so that it always hangs over the president-elect's head for the time being. That's the only reason why it's happening. But he will be entertaining a motion to dismiss brought by the Trump team, and it is possible, and I would say even likely, that he will dismiss it on immunity grounds.
Yeah, Barak, you heard me make mention we're all smiles here today because of all the energy. I'm pretty sure the president-elect happens to be smiling from ear to ear right now after hearing that what happened earlier today. We're going to move on with regard to Trump's pick for Attorney General. You heard me make mention of her. Yes, former Attorney General for Florida, Pam Bondi. I'm curious. Not a lot of folks know about her, well, to the extent that the former president would like for them to know. Your take on her, sir?
Well, I think she's super sharp. She's really led to Florida into a great environment. Crime is a lot further down in Florida as a result. There's a serious attitude about law enforcement, respect for the cops. This is all good for her. It gives her wind at her back when she needs to do that. So tapping her for the U.S. Attorney General position is a fantastic choice. She doesn't have very much in the way of scandals in her background. The worst you could say is that she fought against Obamacare, that she defended Trump, of course, during the impeachment in 2012. Not in 2012, sorry, when his first Senate impeachment crisis there. But those are not scandalous. Those are simply to show that she's a loyal partisan when it comes to the conservative cause. She's sharp. She will, in fact, enforce the laws very dramatically. And you're going to see some good things happen, assuming that she's confirmed.
Let's talk about Matt Gaetz. Obviously, it's now past tense, but we do know that as of today, he just stated that he will not seek to return to Congress. But however, he's stating that he's not going anywhere. What does that mean?
Well, it could very well mean that he'll stay in politics one way or the other. He might actually have a position in the Trump administration on a non-confirmable basis. And there are plenty of those positions. Another option for him is to go in with the new Congress of 2025 rather, and which is going to be starting in January. He was elected for that Congress. He's resigning from the present Congress. So there's plenty of argument for him to still stay in politics. I think he's still going to be a major player.
Let's talk about the Treasury Secretary contender, which I should make mention happens to be arguably the most important economic job in the U.S. government. In this case, we're talking about Mark Rowan. Your take, sir?
Yeah, he's a fantastic pick. He's very conservative in terms of his fiscal policy, and his beliefs align with Trump's as well, and generally with the conservative cause. He's going to be taking the approach that we need to stop all the spending. He's going to roll up his sleeves with Elon Musk, I suppose, and Vivek Ramaswamy to make sure that the government is run more efficiently. And that's a very healthy thing. He's going to be working with interest rates as well to make sure that they can do whatever they can to keep those low, keep inflation in check. But all these things work together, including the drill baby drill policy that Trump administration has promised. That's also going to reduce inflation. So these things work in tandem with one another and ultimately lead to really great results for the economy.
All right, Barak, we're talking about the Democrats, something that, well, a lot of folks don't
Yes.
seem to be talking about a lot lately. In this case, we now know that Democrats are less optimistic about their party's future than at any point in the past 8 years. That, according to a newly released poll. That's somewhat dismal news for those that are sitting on the left.
Well, yes, I would. I'm actually surprised that it's only the past 8 years. I think it's actually more like the past 20 years. And the problem for them is that they really have very few prospects in terms of issues that they can run on going forward. I mean, think about it. They really don't have the racism issue to play on anymore because, frankly, the black community has really risen more for Trump than ever before. Same thing with the Hispanic community, minorities of all kinds. Even the Jewish vote has really climbed much more for Trump and the Republican Party. So I think the jig is up in terms of the racism department. Likewise, the so-called fascism or dictatorship argument that they always use. I mean, what's going to happen when Trump finishes his term and he, of course, turns over power, as he inevitably will in 2028? What argument will they have then? That this is the last election that they'll ever be able to vote in? I mean, they won't have that little swan song to play anymore. And then finally, and very importantly, is the argument of abortion. That is no longer on the table. And I say that because now that it's gone to the states after the Dobbs decision, and 2.5 years has passed since the Dobbs decision, they can't really meaningfully make an argument on abortion anymore. So that means it all goes to the states that the president or whoever's running for president at that time will say, look, it's not in my domain. I have no say about it. I have no more say about abortion than I have about the speed limit in your state. So as a result of that, they have to have that off the table as well. These are good things for the Republicans and terrible news for the Democrats. They have to find new issues altogether. My guess is that they're going to be moving and tacking much more to the right, much more about hard work, much more about giving opportunities for middle-class families. They really have to reinvent themselves at this point. It's bad for them.
Yeah. All right. Well, Barak, it's obvious you are definitely on the move. And, well, not only you're on the move, but you happen to be an amazing author as well. In this case, we're talking about keeping the kids all right. Folks that want to find out more information about that, tell us about it, sir.
Yeah, this is about how we can keep conservative parents looking forward to keeping their kids conservative, how they can continue to love America and don't get swept up in all the wokeism out there. This book will show you how you will never worry about your kids becoming woke, regardless of the environment that they find themselves in, school-wise or camp-wise or anything else-wise. It's simply about making sure that you get in there early and focus on the issues really early. If you do that, you win. It's a lot of fun, this book. It's very short, and you're able to get techniques to make sure that your kids always love America and love God, for that matter, and see all the crazy issues of the days for exactly what they are, crazy.
Well, I got to tell you, Barak.
Amazon.com, that's the easiest way to find it, and on Barnes & Noble.
Yeah, absolutely love it. Well, let me be the first to say I love America, but I also happen to love, yet again, that nice weather that happens to be right behind you, sir. Once again, Mr. Barak Lurie, political strategist, joining us right here on the Live Zone. Make it a great weekend, sir. Thank you for your time.